I'm John Currie. I'm the athletics director, or vice president athletics director at Wake Forest. This is my 7th year at Wake Forest. This is my 15th year as a Power 4 athletic director. I'm a 1993 graduate. And what else you want to know?
Awesome, that's great. And then for somebody who doesn't know the day-to-day roles of the athletic director, what does that look like?
So, AD does a lot of different things, but communication to your constituents is one of them. But we start off with 5 core goals, right? World-class student-athlete experience, integrity and academics compliance, inclusion, safety. Third thing is value to the university community and the community. To our students, right? The fourth thing is winning championships, and the fifth thing is having the best fan experience in North Carolina. So those are kind of our 5 core goals, starting with that student-athlete experience. So in my job, I'm working, to basically deliver on those 5 goals.
Awesome. I think that 5th goal is really special, and I think a lot of people would say that they feel that here, they're trying to put the best fan experience for people. I think part of that is Screamin Demons. Can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with Screamin Demons? How did that start, especially like Will Burns and Clay Matthews?
Well, it's rooted in my own student experience at Wake Forest from 1989 to 1993, and then I worked here for 6 years in the 90s. And when I graduated in 1993, my first job was Deacon Club intern. And one of the things I was engaged in right out of the chute was trying to build bridges and collaboration between student athletes and students and engagement. And then, like now, some of the great kind of lifetime memories that people talk about that went to Wake Forest are, celebrating a big win on the quad or being at a party together after a big win. And the unifying aspect of, when you have those moments, whether it's in the Joel or at a soccer game or in a Legacy Stadium or on the quad or in a post-game win party or whatever, one of the things that's unique about that is it's not, this group and this group and this group. It's a real collaboration of all groups, it's kind of everybody's together, right? And that's one of the things we do in athletics is we bring people together. So I was talking to a former football player doing an exit interview about 5 or 6 years ago, and he said, this is a really, really good football player too, played and successful student, all that. But he said his best memory of Wake Forest, it wasn't one of these big football wins he had, it was celebrating with students all together on the quad after a big basketball win. That was kind of his iconic, that's what Wake Forest is type thing. So we talk about best fan experience in North Carolina, but we also talk about goal number 3, which is value to the university community. So the most important element of Wake Forest University is what? Students, okay? And student experience. And so part of what our responsibility to do in athletics is deliver on that kind of student experience. But it's a symbiotic experience in relationship, because as a student, you get more out of it if you put more into it, right? So if all the students are at the student tailgate zone and in the stands at kickoff like they didn't used to be, that is a new phenomena over the last 7 years, right? Then it's more fun, right? But you've got to be the one as a student to say, hey guys, it's time to go. Let's get in there and let's be in there when our team comes out, right, on the field. So it's kind of like it's a collaborative thing. And so when you got guys like Will Burns or Clay Matthews and lots of other folks, our band, cheerleaders, our athletes, et cetera, are working together for that collaborative outcome of a lot of fun together, that's part of delivering the best fan experience in North Carolina.
That's nice. And I think a lot of that, like the unifying spirit, like that's something that's been with Wake Forest for a long time. You mentioned you saw it when you were a student here, but you also said like this past 7 years there's been a big change. What has been the cause of that change?
Well, I think it's been a lot of different things. One is a collaboration between our Office of Campus Life and Athletics, looking at this, building these relationships to serve our students. And so, going back, coming out of the pandemic, we kind of had a restart. Because in 2020, which was the pandemic football season, you guys weren't in school, right? Okay, well that season we weren't allowed to have fans for most of our games. We did have a couple games later where we had a number of students could come, but then in 2021 we had a really good team with high anticipation, but we essentially had 2 freshman classes or first-year classes because the people that got here in the fall of 20 hadn't done the football game thing, and the people that got here in 21 obviously were the same. They were it was new, And so that was really the year that we collaborated with Campus Life and built the student tailgate zone experience. It used to be kind of, before that, it was kind of like there was just a big space, and if a group wanted to bring a tent, they could. There were like 7 or 8 different boom boxes playing different kinds of music. It was kind of discombobulated. And if you were a new student, you wouldn't have really known, like, well, what do I do, right? And so I think we've been intentional about creating that platform, but then it's really been students that grabbed it and took it and said, we want to make something out of this. And now that you do have a great scene right there before games. I'd say another element is the first year field run, because now every class at Wake Forest has done that's here at Wake Forest. And so now that's become something that that's a quintessential part of the Wake Forest first year student experience. So last summer and last spring, when we're at different events around the country and there's students that are coming to Wake Forest, that's one of the things they're talking about doing when they get here. And then because you have the sophomores, juniors, and seniors all did that, then they want to get in the game early to cheer on the first years coming through. So you got a new tradition. So it's an old tradition, but it's new to Wake Forest, even though it's old to you guys.
Yeah, and that is, I think so much of it does come from the students, right? Like you said, the students putting that effort to make an experience. And when we were talking with Will Burns, we heard about the stuff that he does with Screamin Demons and the work that he puts in as president and stuff like that. Do you collaborate with Will Burns at all through Screamin Demons?
Yeah, sure.
So can you talk about that?
Sure. So our staff is our fan experience staff and the campus life experience, which really work together. And so Will and Clay have worked collaboratively with our staff. Over the years, we've had some other really good student leaders who've chosen to engage in that way. What I would say to students, the coolest things at Wake Forest are the student-led things. So like Hit the Bricks was last week. That's a student-led, student-driven deal. And now over time, it's perpetuated itself with the leadership. And it's a student leadership that people are getting involved, as student leaders and Hit the Bricks, as sophomores and juniors, and then that leadership group evolves. And I think continuing to have that same thing evolve with Screamin Demons and student tailgate and first year field run and other things around all of our sports, whether it's soccer or women's basketball, whatever.
And obviously the student aspects of it and having those traditions, that's valuable in and of itself. The students really enjoy that. But do you feel like having such an involved student body, student fan base at all impacts the quality or the performance of athletics?
Well, remember that the quality and performance of athletics is not about athletics. The quality and performance of athletics is about the excellence of the university, just like the quality of our faculty is about the excellence of our university. So, and then, obviously, when you have full stadiums and excited fan bases, that's motivating for student athletes. They appreciate that their fellow students and their peers in the classroom care. And so we talk with our student athletes about, making sure that they're engaged with fellow students, right? To build those relationships and further that passion and that support. We have great support of student athletes of other athletic teams, right? There was a soccer game early in the year. I remember a men's soccer game being at, and Josh Harrison, who's a junior on our football team, who's injured this year, but Josh is out there leading cheers in the front of the thing, and it's like getting the whole group involved. And so I think that doesn't happen everywhere in the country, and I think that's part of the uniqueness here. Taking it a step further, though, as students, this is your university, right? And you're the ones that have invested in this university as being part of your brand, right? This is part of your brand. When you graduate from college and you're working somewhere, I went to Wake Forest. And so one of the things athletics is a brand awareness vehicle for the entire university. So people have heard of where you went to school because, I was watching the Golf Channel and I saw Kim Llewellyn, when Wake Forest won the national golf championship in 2023, or I saw Tony Bresky and our men's tennis team won the national championship in 2025, or I saw, Steve Forbes or whoever it was, and that's part of why people have heard of Wake Forest, right? It's a marketing vehicle in many ways. So when we're able to talk about, and it surprises people, right? When we say that we have 80% of our students are at a game, at a football game. Well, that's better than any other school in America in terms of percentage of students being there than maybe the service academies, right? Especially remarkable given the number of students that are gone in the fall as juniors that are studying abroad. So for students, being present at the games and events that are televised, that go out, I mean, that defines what the brand is. That's a fun place to go. That's a place where people care. And that helps elevate the reputation of our university.
I would assume that there is sort of like a positive feedback loop of like just knowing that 80% of people go to games and people want to go to games more.
Sure.
But what is sort of the input there that's not that positive feedback loop that actually gets people out there? Like what gets that student to the game that isn't just going because they want to be a part of it, but like what are the incentives to go that you guys have really kind of put into place?
Sure. Well, I mean, a big part of it is education. You know, a lot of people come to Wake Forest and they know that college athletics and the Big Four and the ACC is a big deal, but maybe they came from a place where college athletics wasn't that big a deal in that community or whatever. So a big part of what we've got to do and what you all do through the Old Gold and Black is educate students, right? And like, why is it a big deal that the Big Four, you know, is who we are, that it's Carolina, Duke, and NC State, and that Wake Forest and NC State is the second oldest continuous football rivalry in the country. You know, that we've won 11 national championships, you know. So there's a lot of education that has to go into that. And then the Screamin Demons Rewards app gives the ability to, you know, to track attendance and provide incentives for coming and staying. And, you know, we've done other stuff like that. Ultimately, the thing that it's got to be is it's got to be fun, right? It's got to be as easy as it can be because Wake Forest students are busy, you know, and they're studying hard and they got to compress. You know, this is my time to go have fun right now. This is my study time. And so we got to be efficient and communicate well and provide information. It's got to be fun. And then, you know, it's like we said earlier, it's together. It's your energy together with fellow students and stuff like that. So you need to continue to have, you know, just like anything else, there's some moments where, gosh, I'm kind of tired. I really want to go over there. I got a big test. But it's got to be a little sense of like, well, you know, it's like a FOMO thing, right? Well, if I don't go, I'm going to miss the fun, right? All my friends are going. I need to go too. But you got to flip that around and say, come on, guys. I know we're tired, but let's go. We got one more game. We win this game, we go to a bowl, or win this game, we go to the NCAA tournament or whatever. Let's go help our team.
We learned that Will Burns and Clay Matthews are both seniors, and they've been leading Screamin Demons for a while now. Moving forward, how do you see student leadership changing in the upcoming years surrounding athletics?
Sure. So we have several new staff members in our fan experience office, right? And and you've seen Gray Bray, who's our mic man at the games, who's like really passionate about connecting. So, you know, our staff in working again with Campus Life. I was just in a meeting with Dr. Shea, providing an infrastructure, but really the best organizations and the best outcomes are when students continue to be more involved. And so I would say that there's opportunities to build an even more robust and broader, you know, instead of just having, you know, Clay and Will, let's have like 30 Clays and Wills, right? In different organizations, in different class years, and so to continue to perpetuate that. And that provides, you know, some pretty neat opportunities too. I mean, those student leaders of Screamin Demons, et cetera, are, you know, they're getting to do some cool things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as sort of the landscape of college sports and fan experience changes, how do you see Screamin Demons adjusting to fit that?
I think that, you know, for one thing, technology and connectivity, you know, continue to improve. And so how do you leverage those things to make the experience even better, right? So how do we, you know, we have the Screamin Demons Rewards app. How do we make sure that everybody knows how to use it? How do we make sure that everybody's email address and cell phone number get into the thing? How do we continue to, you know, iron out the bugs and stuff like that of that kind of process? And then the challenge of creating a experience that's fun, that's consistent, that's efficient. You know, that's something we all do together going forward, and, you know, making it a priority.
Absolutely. I think the Screamin Demons app is really, like the rewards, that's a really unique thing. In fact, I was giving a tour today and I was telling the prospective students about that, and that was like such a novel thing to them. Do you remember when that idea came to be? Were you there?
I can't remember when we created the app. I think there was an app before I got here in 2019, but I just can't remember, right? Yeah. And I've been at 3 different institutions, so sometimes like when stuff happened at different institutions kind of runs together. But I know we've made progress on it, and I know that I hear from some people, hey, this could be better, that could be better. So we got to continue to grind away at it. And then the ability to provide prizes and the best seats or whatever for the big game or whatever. That's all great stuff. And is important, and we should continue to do that and figure out what's most meaningful to people. I mean, sometimes we try stuff that doesn't work, and so okay, let's try. Just because we tried something that doesn't work doesn't mean we failed. It means we've crossed something off the list and can go to the next thing. I think one of the things that would be really cool to continue to do, the group this year at football games, for instance, has introduced a couple songs, right? So there's a song at the end of the first quarter, and the words are up on the thing. So how do we get people into a pattern of knowing that song and knowing that it's coming before they go to the game? So when you have first-year students next year in orientation, hey, when you go to the first game against Akron, because our first home game next year will be against Akron, either on September 3rd or September 5th, I'm not sure yet. But this is what happens at the end of the first quarter. Everybody sings this song, so let's practice that song. Type thing, and continuing to build those moments of tradition into the game.
Is that difficult to build that traditions? If obviously once they're established, they kind of are maintained. But is there sort of an awkwardness to trying to start something new, a new tradition for the students?
Sometimes. I mean, it takes a little while to figure things out. I mean, I think one of the great traditions that not everybody knows about right now is that at the end of all of our contests or football games, our football team goes over to the band, win or lose, goes over in front of the Spirit of the Old Gold and Black, and they link arms and sing the alma mater. And the students that are left there at the game are doing it with them, right? And there was a bigger crowd after the Georgia Tech game because the game was really close down to the wire. There's a bigger crowd there doing it, and like continue to make that a bigger thing, a bigger tradition. And I actually saw some students that they're starting to walk out, but then they're like, oh, this is happening. This is cool. We should stay. And they turned around and they came back in to be part of that moment, even though we had lost the game.
Awesome. And then finally, if you could kind of just like send one message to the student fan base or people who are going to games, what would it be about their role in making Wake Forest what it is, which is this really special experience?
Don't ever underestimate how like one person and one other person and one other person cheering together for a common thing is really strong and powerful. And it's really amazing at Wake Forest that we have such a spirited deal. I would say that continuing to figure out how we can make it even better and pull more people in as it grows is a really cool thing. Now I will say one last thing. Okay, I gotta have one last thing. When we win the game, right, we have to make sure that the visiting team gets off the field before we go onto the field. All right, so let's just remember, let's celebrate like we know how to celebrate. Let the visiting team get off the field. All right, then we'll worry about the rest.